Imagine this. You're driving down a highway. Your speed is simple. Miles per hour, kilometers per hour, distance over time. Easy. But the moment you step onto a ship or sit inside an airplane, everything changes. Suddenly, no one talks about miles anymore. Instead, you hear something strange. Speed, 500 knots. Knots? Are we measuring rope? Is this just an old tradition that never disappeared? Or is there something deeper hiding behind that word? Because here's the truth. That one simple term connects modern airplanes to a piece of wood floating in the ocean over 400 years ago. To understand why we still use knots today, we need to go back to a time before engines, before GPS, before anything digital existed, the 17th century. Back then, sailors faced a deadly problem. They had no way to measure speed accurately, and without speed, they couldn't calculate distance. Without distance, they were blind. No maps could save them. No landmarks could guide them. One wrong estimate, and a ship could disappear forever. So they invented something surprisingly simple, a tool called the chip log. Picture this, a small piece of wood shaped like a slice of pie, weighted so it would sit upright in the water. Attached to it, a long rope, but not just any rope. This rope had knots tied into it at very precise intervals. When sailors wanted to measure speed, they would throw the wood into the ocean. The wood stayed behind, dragged by the water, while the ship moved forward, pulling the rope out. At the same time, another sailor flipped a sand glass, usually 28 seconds. As the rope slid through their hands, they counted. 1 knot, 2 knots, 3. When the sand ran out, they stopped counting. The number of knots that passed through their hands was the ship's speed. That's it. That's the origin. A knot was never just a word. It was something sailors physically touched, counted, measured. But here's where things get really interesting. Why were the knots spaced so precisely? Why not random distances? Why not make it easier? Because this wasn't just about rope. It was about the Earth itself. On land, we use miles, a system based on walking distance dating back to ancient Rome. But the ocean doesn't work like land. Sailors don't navigate using roads. They navigate using the planet, latitude, longitude, the curvature of the Earth. So they needed a system that matched that reality. They divided the Earth into 360 degrees, each degree into 60 minutes, and they decided 1 nautical mile equals 1 minute of latitude. This was genius, because it meant distance and maps became perfectly aligned. No complicated calculations, just pure geometry. And here's the breakthrough. They calculated that if knots on the rope were spaced about 47 feet apart and measured over 28 seconds, the number of knots counted would exactly match nautical miles per hour. Not an estimate, an exact relationship. So, a knot isn't random. It's mathematically tied to the shape of the Earth. Now here's the real question. Why are we still using this today? We have satellites, GPS, advanced computers. Why not switch to something simpler? The answer comes from aviation. When airplanes were first invented, there were no dedicated systems for them. Early pilots didn't have modern navigation tools. They relied on what already existed. Maritime maps, ocean charts, latitude and longitude. Pilots like Charles Lindbergh navigated the sky the same way sailors navigated the sea, using stars, using coordinates, using Earth-based geometry. So naturally, they used the same unit of speed, knots. And even today, it still makes sense. Airplanes don't travel across flat land. They travel across the curve of the planet. Using miles would actually make calculations more complicated over long distances. But knots? They fit perfectly with the Earth's coordinate system. They simplify navigation. They reduce errors. They speak the same language as the planet itself. So the next time you hear a pilot say, "We're cruising at 500 knots," you'll know something most people don't. That number isn't just speed. It's history. It's a system built by sailors counting knots on a rope. It's a unit designed to match the geometry of the Earth. And it's a reminder that even in a world of advanced technology, some of the smartest solutions were invented hundreds of years ago. Cars measure speed based on land. Ships and planes, they measure speed based on the planet.